Hey guys, Ryan from Brisket here, and today we're cooking a brisket for the fabrication team over at the P&S shop. Let's get smoking. Whenever I'm working with the brisket, first thing I like to do is put on some rubber gloves. Another piece that's pretty important is to have your brisket chilled straight from the fridge, because it's gonna make it a lot easier to trim. That fat's gonna be a little harder and a little more easy to work with, as opposed to being all kind of melted and slimy if it's at room temp. So this is a 10-pound packer brisket, USDA prime. You might think that's a little small, but depending on when you watch this, meat prices are pretty high right now, and packers tend to adjust the size of their cuts to prices. So they're doing this so that they can still sell more brisket. So this process will be the same for a 10-pound brisket as it would be for a 20-pound brisket. So I'm gonna get this bad boy out of the bag, onto my cutting board, and I'm going to just discard the bag. I'm also gonna take some paper towels and just kind of pat this thing dry. Not gonna wash it off or anything crazy like that. Just get some of that excess blood and liquid off of it to make it easier to handle. All right, while I have it in this position, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this big chunk of fat off. And the point of trimming your brisket is that you wanna cut off the stuff that is either gonna come off and take all the seasoning off, or that people just don't wanna eat. People just don't really eat real fatty brisket anymore like they used to a while back. So all this fat and meat, save this. You can grind this into any of like venison sausage, pork sausage you might have, or what I'm gonna do is actually add it to some lean longhorn beef that we have to make our burgers a little fattier and tacos a little fattier. I'm gonna get this big hard chunk out. All right, if you see any other kind of pieces like this, let's go ahead and take those off. If you see any silver skin on there, you can take that off too. This one doesn't really have too much. It's nice and cleaned up. A lot of the guys you'll see out there, man, they are just wizards with the knife trimming these things. But let's be honest, if you're doing this once, twice a year, you're not gonna be that good, and that's okay. But the goal is to get all that inedible fat off. Then you also want to leave about 1/4 of an inch of fat on here to cook and render during, while it's on the pit. This big flap like this, let's take this off. That's just gonna burn. And probably the best way to think about this is that you want your brisket to be kind of aerodynamic. You want air to flow across it easily. You don't want to leave any kind of sharp edges, sharp points on it that are gonna burn and not gonna be good to eat. You also want to get these, you can see this right here. A lot of times that can be kind of hard, kind of freezer burn, depending if it's frozen or not. This one was not, but we're still going to take that off just so we have a fresh edge while we cook. All right, so we got this bad boy trimmed. Look, we make pits, we don't trim briskets for a living. This is gonna get the job done. I did try and give it some of the rounded, kind of more aerodynamic look to it. So maybe knock this off too. And I think that is gonna work just fine for us. So the way I like to season this is just salt and pepper. So We got about a 2-to-1 coarse black pepper to sea salt mixture, and we are just gonna season the heck out of it. To the extent you can, you're gonna wanna use fresh ground pepper. That's gonna make a big difference. And using this much pepper is really gonna help with the bark too. Alrighty. It's gonna get everywhere, and that's just how it goes. Okay, now, don't forget all of these sides. It's gonna be a little cleaner if you do this in a pan. All right, so I think that is pretty good. To give you a sense of how much that was about a three quarters of a cup combined salt and pepper. So I'm just gonna kind of dab this around in here, get everything I possibly can on there. So next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw this in a pan, drive over to the shop. We're gonna put it on 850 for overnight cooking. All right, we're here at the Pit Spit shop. We have our shop 850 set to 240. It's ready to go. We're gonna get this brisket put on. So this specific 850 is actually the first one we ever made, so it's about 5 years old. So please go easy on her if you can see she's a little weathered. Brisket is on the smoker and it's set to 240. We're gonna let this cook overnight. What we're looking for here is around 195 to 200 in the flat. Once it gets to that point, we're actually gonna pull it, wrap it, put it in a cooler. That way it's gonna do some carryover cooking, stay nice and moist for tomorrow's afternoon lunch around 2, 3 o'clock when the guys are off work. I think they're really gonna be happy with it. Good morning. So our brisket's been on overnight. We just temped it. It's got 195 at the flat, so this baby's ready to come off and go to rest. But first, let's take a look at it. What I'm gonna do is take this off the pit and let it rest for a little bit. We want it to come down to about 180 degrees before we wrap it in peach paper and a towel and put it in the cooler to rest for a few more hours before it's ready to serve. So the brisket's been in the cooler for 5 hours resting. We just probed it. It's around 130, so we're gonna bring it up to 140, 145 back into the safety zone. So we're gonna take it out of the towel, turn the smoker up to 180. We're gonna put it back in, leave it in the peach paper. About an hour from now, it'll be back where it's hot enough to eat, and we'll serve it. Brisket's been reheating for about 45 minutes. Just probed it, came in at 145. We're gonna take it off, put it on the cutting board, take it inside for the guys. And that's a wrap. The brisket turned out great. We wanted to get a few more shots of it while it was being cut and eaten, but the guys just got after it too fast. They also cleaned up a little faster than I expected too. That peach paper that had all that nice brisket fat on it, I actually like to keep that. You can put it in a plastic bag, freeze it. Next time you want to start your fire pit or stick burner, it's a great way to have a little fire starter that you don't have to buy from the store. Two things I will say I learned from that cook. The 10-pound brisket did cook a little faster than I expected, but that cooler method, which I kind of always thought was reserved for restaurant guys, really improved that brisket. It was really, really good, and I think that's the only way we'll be doing it from now on. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something. As always, thank you for buying American. You have no idea how many households that you have a positive effect on. Now it's a Friday afternoon. We're about to get out of here. Hope you have a smoking weekend.